So here we are with our first speaker, Julian Hosp, who joins us from Singapore. Good afternoon to you, Julian, and welcome to Kuble CONF 2020.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be part of this.
So many in our audience, of course, already know you as a blockchain expert, entrepreneur, and author. And now we're curious about learn more about how you're using live streaming for community building. With that, I hand over to you, and in the audience, please send your questions and comments that I will pass on to Julian after his presentation. The screen is yours.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Well, wonderful. Good morning. It's early afternoon here in Singapore. I'm looking forward to get this chance to share a couple of thoughts, experiences with you, and a couple of ideas that I would love to share with you. I'm happy to share those slides with you afterwards, so no need to take screenshots or to take notes. I mean, you can. Also, one thing I want to share with you is that I will not always talk about what's on the slides, because you can have those slides anyways. I will rather kind of underline a lot of the facts that I put on the slides with personal stories, with personal experience. These are things that are very difficult sometimes to put on slides. But I think these are the actual things that are really valuable. The reason I'm saying this is that in my experience, especially with live streaming, but social media in general, I think I'm a bit different in a sense that I never see myself as an influencer. Even though I have a really large audience, or relatively large, I have 100,000 subscribers, or close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I have over 30,000 followers on Instagram, on Twitter, so quite on all the different platforms. And considering that this is the crypto industry, which is not that large as a whole, and the content I produce is very topic specific, it's actually quite a large audience. And so the reason I want to bring this to you is I primarily see myself as a business owner. And I probably wouldn't even be on social media if it weren't for business. So my primary use of live streaming or of any of those tools is the business side. And the reason I really kind of want to highlight that to you is because, first of all, that flows a lot into how I use content, how I create content, how I interact with the audience, what kind of priorities I set. And I just want to bring this a bit to you, because if your goal is to be only an influencer, probably I'm the wrong person to give you some advice, because for me, there's completely different metrics that matter than to someone that just wants to have a large social media following. And you will see in a second what I actually mean with this, because especially as a business owner, this is what's super important. I think a lot of my success in business primarily actually comes from my use of social media, and especially live streaming, because I do most of live streaming actually when I create YouTube content, for example. Most of it is live streaming. And so I think this is very, very key. I think one important part about this also is I don't try to change myself. I try to be completely who I am on social media and also on YouTube. And I've heard that there many times there were PR agencies that came to me and said, hey, look, Julian, we could get your YouTube count to 1 million followers, but you would have to do this and you would have to do that. And this was never what I wanted to do. For me, it was all about being myself, being able to create a connection with people. And so these are the ideas and the sharings that I would love to get across. There's going to be 5 points I want to discuss with you. First of all, I want you to ask yourself, who are you? Who would you like to be on social media, or especially when you live stream? But then also, who is your target audience, and how do those two link together? This is very, very, very important in all of this. The second thing is, what do you want to talk about on there? What's the value? And that's going to be a key term. What's the value that you try to bring to people? Why should they listen to you, basically? That's key. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who say, wouldn't you want to start with the what first and do the who afterwards? I completely disagree, for the main reason that I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm trying to be what I am interested in doing already. That's who I am. And from there, the what derives. So this is a key concept. Now, if you're an influencer and all you care about is being famous on social media, you're probably going to go the other way around. You're going to analyze and you're going to say, what is trending on YouTube? How can I really generate a lot of views? I go a completely different route there. So that's important. Then step 3, and because we talk about video, we are obviously gonna kind of shrink this down a bit, but at the end it comes down to how do you connect with the audience? Where do you actually talk to them? Where do you live stream? Now there's various video audiences out there right now. I'll walk through a bit and I'll give a bit of my own personal ideas. For example, I am on some audiences way more than I'm on others, for the very simple reason that this is exactly who I am and this is how I connect. And I think the people that follow me, that listen to me, that watch me, they totally understand that. And for them, it would be a bit weird that, for example, I would show up on TikTok, even though TikTok is such a hypey platform, but it's not really the platform for me. But again, this is something you need to kind of reflect and kind of understand as well. Then step number 4 that I want to talk about is the how. So how are you, for example, going to get your first followers? How do you get to the first 1,000? How do you get to the 10,000? How do you get to 100,000? What are the tools and the ideas that you can use there? And then the last one, and that is, in my opinion, obviously the most important one. Everything in life falls down to so-called key performance indicators. It falls down to metrics. Whatever you focus on, whatever metric you focus on is what you will improve. And if you're focusing on, I don't know, that you get a lot of upvotes for your video, then this is how you're gonna act. If you're focusing on being liked by all the followers you have, this is how you're gonna act. If your idea is to have as many followers as possible, this is what you're gonna go for. I don't go for any of those, and you will see this, and I'll give you a lot of examples with all that. I have a completely different metric, and I'm not gonna give it to you right now. I'll give it to you at the end of my session here today, because I think at the end, that's what's really, really important. So let's walk those through. Again, I'll share a bit more of my own stories here. I'll not just go through all those different points. You can have them afterwards in the PDF. You can read them through yourself. So this is not, to me, that interesting to just regurgitate that. For me, the unique thing is my own story here. That's very difficult to put on slides, but it's way easier to kind of share a bit around that. For me, the most important thing when it comes to myself, again, and I kind of started off with this, was that for me on social media, and especially on YouTube, was this idea that I am a business owner. I'm not an influencer. Now, there's a couple of things that are important in this sense. That means when I represent myself on YouTube, I am not trying to be perfect. I don't go for perfect lighting. I don't try to have perfect timing. I don't try to have, for example, every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday content out. I don't have the best microphone. I don't. And for a very simple reason that I don't try to be an influencer. For me, it's business first. That doesn't mean that I have a shit camera. That doesn't mean that I have shit lighting. That doesn't mean I have a shit microphone. It's just you will always find people who are way better in actually delivering the content out there. Now, why am I saying this is important? Because it has to be authentic. Maybe you sit there and you're like, no, you know what? My business, I'm actually in design and I need to portray this perfectionism. I need to focus on every little detail. Great, then you are completely right. This is how you have to present yourself. So this is who you are when it comes to that. But maybe you are way more like me and then you're like, you know what? I use this for a totally different purpose. So for me, it's not about perfectionizing everything. For me, it's actually getting stuff done. And this is a question that I really like myself, that I like asking myself, which is, how would I have to do this that I actually am going to stick it through? Because if I would have to be someone different, I could do this for a month. But building a business, building a following on social media in general, but obviously live streaming, works over months and years, not just a few days or weeks. So you need to stick this through. This is important when you start. And then on the other hand, you need to ask yourself, who do you actually want to attract? And I would really recommend to you that this is where you start off with. Not what are you going to tell them, not how will you reach these people. Really start off with who is the so-called avatar, who is this perfect customer. Now, here are a couple of ideas. So let me give you an example again here from my side. So in cryptocurrencies, if you think about investing in general, but mainly cryptocurrencies, there's actually a very clear type of person that is actually the mass user in cryptocurrencies. And if I would target this down, the typical avatar is male, Actually, 97% of all cryptocurrency owners are male. That's just how it is. And they are millennials. So that means they are between 20 and, late 30s. This is the main age. And that is the typical crypto user. So you would go and you would say, I want to build a YouTube a YouTube channel for crypto users. So then this would be who you would have to target. This is, however, not who I'm targeting. The people that I target are actually, when they're really young, they are in their low 30s. The main audience for me is 35 to 45, maybe even late 40s. Now, why do I mention this here? There's a very key concept on the last point, which is, what is the key performance indicator? What's the thing that I really want to focus on? And at the end, the thing that I want to focus on is my business. It's not growing the YouTube channel. It's not having the most upvotes. It's exactly that. So I ask myself, who do I need for my business? And that is where I start. This is actually something that I learned from large influencers out there who all have millions of followers. And then they come to me and say, look, I have 1 million YouTube followers. I live stream to them on a daily basis. And what I make of that is 30,000 euros a month. And then I sit there and I'm like, wow, I have 100,000 followers, but I make 3, 4, 5 times that amount. Why? Because I don't go for mass, I go for class. I don't go for quantity, I go for quality. And I'm not saying that people that are 25 are lower quality than someone that's 40, but the 40-year-old fits way better to my business than the 25-year-old. That is something that you really have to start off with. And I would highly recommend to do this as early as you can, because you can answer for yourself a couple of questions that this audience will have. And this is how I would really love to start for you. So this is now kind of leading over when you talk about what should you talk to them about. I can highly recommend that you ask yourself, what are these people, what kind of questions are they asking? And what questions is also key, are they not asking? What are things they hate? What are things that they dislike? What are the things that they really like? For example, if you know anything about investing, there's a very typical form of investing that's trading. So there's a lot of people that love to day trade. They are of the belief that, if they sit and watch charts and calculate a lot, that they can make tons of money. They can get rich quick. Now, probably many times actually, this happens when you invest very early, because you believe that you can kind of cheat the system, you can kind of skip a step, you can be faster than anyone else. And then along the time, at least that's my belief, you kind of realize that it's quite difficult to actually day trade. Most of the time you actually lose money, you hardly ever make money. And the more mature you get, you actually realize one of the best strategies is way more the buy and hold strategy, and not so much this in and out, this day trading. In German, you say, hin und her macht Taschen leer. So that means if you move back and forth all the time, at the end, the people who are winning are the exchanges, but not yourself, because you're losing money all the time. And so that's, for example, a very important part. I don't do trading videos at all. If I were to do trading videos perform really well on YouTube. Why? Because you have so many young people, young kids sitting there hoping, where does the price of an investment go? What would be the potential? Only to realize over weeks and months that this is absolutely bullcrap, and most of the time it actually doesn't work. And most of the people actually just lose money trading. So that's, for example, an important thing, an important belief system that my audience has that I have to follow, because I don't go this direction. If I were to go this direction, in all my videos, people will be like, actually, that's exactly not who I want to be. This is not what I'm interested in. You need to think about these things when you go actually to the next step. So we're not talking about live streaming yet. We're really talking way more on general idea finding for who are you and who do you want to deliver this to. Again, when we talk about metrics, you will have to think about this. And this is going to be a very, very key thing. And then obviously at the end, you can always kind of niche this down. There's a key concept also on YouTube, and I would highly recommend that whenever you do live streaming. It's all about finding those first 1,000 viewers. The first 1,000 viewers are actually the most important one. And the way you get there, and this is going to be a bit of a surprising thing, is by segmenting. Most people believe you're going to get your first 1,000 viewers by having a really broad topic. So for example, I'm going to live stream now every single day about cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies, I know it's quite niche, but it's way too broad. You're probably never going to get to 1,000 people live streaming about cryptocurrencies. It's just way too broad. So you're going to get to 1,000 people by picking a very niche topic. For example, about talking about an individual coin, and you only talk about one single investment all the time. Now I get it. You're going to sit there and you're like, how am I ever going to get to 1,000 people just talking about one single thing? Believe me, there's almost no topic out there that doesn't have at least 1,000 fans that would be super interested in what you have to talk about. And the biggest mistake, and if you have already been live streaming, if you have social media and you have been struggling in getting at least to the first 1,000 subscribers, for example, believe me, do this thing. Niche down, segment down, pick a very small market and try to get 1,000 people. Then expand a bit, expand a bit, expand a bit. But you have to segment down. You have to be as niche and as small as possible. Now, from there, obviously, then the question becomes, well, what should I talk to these people about? What is actually the content? What are the things that might be interesting? Now, this ties a bit in, and I can highly recommend here, basically the who avatar thing. If you ask yourself, what are the problems? What are the questions the stream audience has? What are those things? Then you can already have a bit of a topic list, and you can kind of have some ideas here already, where then you start tying in and you're like, you know what? Actually, this is something that I could talk about. This is what I can talk about. And an interesting idea here I want to give to you is the so-called apprentice master idea. And the apprentice master idea here is that, let's say you start out with this. You are an apprentice. When you are an apprentice, many times you look to fellowships, like the next step, or you look at masters, and you always look up and you feel, wow, I'm not as good as them. They talk about all these complex topics. They talk about really these great ideas, but this is only me. And how am I supposed to talk about these things? I'm not an expert. Okay, let me bring you back when I did my very first cryptocurrency video, and I don't have a crypto background, right? I have a medical background, completely different. In 2015, I made my very first Bitcoin cryptocurrency video, so 5 years ago. And the key understanding for me back then was I didn't have to explain anything to the people that I was looking up to. I had to explain stuff to people who are on the same path that I had just walked. And I had actually just walked into this path of stumbling into blockchain, stumbling into Bitcoin. And so I had to explain for the very first time, now pay attention, nothing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but I had to share my experience actually stumbling into this. So this is like the apprentice step. It's the very, very first step. And most people are scared to talk about that. You talk about experience, you talk about the journey. At some point, you get a bit more experience, and this is what happened with me in 2016. I became more experienced. I learned about cryptography, I learned about economics, about finance, about how all those tools work, and you become more of you go more into the fellowship. So you kind of step it up a bit. In German, Geselle. You go to the next level. And well, when you get to this stage, you can actually start teaching a bit more content. And that is what I did. So if you look actually on my YouTube channel, these are the things that I talked about first there. And at some point you become the master, but the master is really, really far advanced. So why am I telling this to you? Start off not mainly with trying to educate other masters. Try to start off with educating people who are on the same path that you are. And maybe you're just one step ahead, and you can tell them, hey, listen, just yesterday I was on this step, and this is how I went to the next step. And this is what you should be doing too. And then 6 months down the line, you can talk about the next level. And this is key, because many times otherwise you feel scared, you feel overwhelmed, you don't really know what to talk about, or you feel, oh, who am I? Like imposter syndrome. You're scared that you're not good enough. And this is completely normal. But what you are going to be really good at is actually sharing the path you're on, sharing the steps you have just taken, sharing the experiences. And there's absolutely no excuse in not doing this. Now, again, of course, in my opinion, you should be able to tie this into your business, right? So depends what your business is. And that's where this slide actually then comes in. Online, offline, if you're more B2C, B2B, obviously this relates a lot into the different areas. Again, for me, whenever I stream on YouTube, I have a B2C business, so that's mainly the focus there. And you will see a lot of these ideas. I will talk about, especially when we talk about the where, a bit on how you could stream when we do a bit more B2B. But I just really want you to understand it a bit. Now, I have a couple of ideas here: create hashtags, do the postings, understand timing, and so on. These are all things to me that, are the fine-tuning part, and I definitely want to have them there. But I really want to share a bit more on the ideas that go through my head when I walk through all of that. So let's go from that and say, what do you talk about? Again, do the apprentice side, go become a bit of a fellow, and then go to the master. That's probably going to be weeks, months, probably years. And now you sit there, who do you talk about out to? What do you want to talk about? What are the questions this audience has? And now obviously the major thing is going to be, where should you be talking to this audience? You have many platforms here. And over the next slides, you can actually go through all those. I will not go through those slides for the very simple reason you can read this yourself. I don't need to read this for you. What I will rather do, I will pick out a couple of platforms and I will give you a very good strategy that will tie in with step 4 actually, which is how are you then actually going to reach those people? How will you find those people? And how I call this, it's a bit of the phishing strategy. And the phishing strategy works in a sense that the very first question I would ask myself is treat all these platforms that you have there like a river. And these are all different rivers. So you have the Instagram river, you have the YouTube river, you have the Facebook river, the Twitter river, the TikTok, the Pinterest, the Snapchat. We could add Twitch here, very popular, especially over the last weeks. So you could add Twitch here. So there's a lot of rivers for live streaming. And these are all rivers. And the reason they're rivers is because there's way more people on this platform already than you will probably ever have or that you will ever know. So there's way more people in this river. And one thing that I have excluded completely here is you actually doing the live streaming or the hosting completely by yourself. So all you would be doing is you basically have a website and all you do is stream there, and you would have to get people there all the time. The platform themselves is not helping you with the reach. So I'm excluding this a bit because I think this is really difficult. So see it this way. There's these rivers. And your goal now is to go with your little fishing rod and try to get some fish. And try to get those fish, but not eat them or kill them, but get them and put them in your little pond. So there's this river and you have these little ponds. And you're trying to get the fish into those little ponds. So what you should really ask yourself is, how can you be fishing? How can you create content? How can you interact with others? How can you find people to get these fish from the river into those little ponds? And those ponds is basically your channel. And you should ask yourself this. Now here's a key trick. It's going to be impossible to be fishing at 8 different rivers at the same time. It's only you. Now, I get it. You can create a video and you can live stream on YouTube, and then you can upload it on Facebook and you can upload it on Instagram. And you can do this, and you probably should do this. I tell you one thing though, the best strategy that I've ever seen, that I have lived myself, is to be fishing in one river. Really ask myself, who are the fish that are swimming in there? Who are the fish that I would need in my pond, on my platform, following me? So that afterwards, whenever I create a new video, I don't need to go fishing all the time. I can just go to my pond and I have all these fish, and basically I go there with new food and they automatically come to me. I don't have to do any work. And that is the mindset that I always have when I create content or when I do live streaming. And so when I asked myself this, right, and this is individual for all of you. So we could add, for example, here, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is live streaming for business to business. The reason I haven't added it here was because live streaming on LinkedIn right now is not accessible to everyone. So it's only accessible to a certain size. You have to apply. Most of the accounts actually get rejected. So I've only added those where pretty much anyone from start zero can actually live stream. And so I give you a bit of my idea here. My idea, or basically the first river that I looked at, was YouTube. And the reason was YouTube was because I think whenever people think of trying to learn about cryptocurrencies, they go to YouTube or to Google, and Google obviously and YouTube are really well connected, and they look for, how do I buy Bitcoin? How do I invest in Bitcoin? How do I become rich with cryptocurrencies? Where does the Bitcoin price go? And so this was the river. And so now my main question was, how do I get these fish that are by the billions in YouTube, and how do I get them in my little pond? And then all I have to do, I go with some food and all the fish immediately come and I don't have to do any extra work. Now, again, I'm not trying to get the most fish. I'm trying to get the right fish. Very, very key, right? Key. So ask yourself this. And again, this might be very different to who you are or what kind of business you have. You might have more of a design business, more of a visual business, maybe more of a lifestyle business. Instagram could be way better for you. For me, Instagram, it's definitely not the right platform. I am on Instagram, but I think I have like 30, 40,000 followers on Instagram versus 100,000 on YouTube. Facebook, same story. Twitter, same thing, right? So you need to ask yourself this a bit. And again, you can go through all the details that are my thoughts here on the platforms when you go on the next slides here. So who's on Facebook, who's on Twitter, and so on and so on and so on. So you can just walk this through, but and then you get a bit of my ideas. The more important thing is really the fishing strategy. And ask yourself, where do you think this avatar up here is actually? Where are they? Which platform are they using? And this is probably the first research I would be doing. So let's say you're looking for a 35-year-old female and you need this for whatever type business you have. Well, you're probably going to use a totally different fishing strategy than someone who is looking for 18 or 19-year-old teenagers, right? So this is going to be a very key concept in all this. So now, how do you go about this? Well, there's a couple of ideas here. You can always do the interacting fishing strategy. So on the one hand, you create content. We're going to talk about this in step 4. But on the other hand, you will have to interact with other accounts on there. Don't do this with bots. So don't go and as a YouTube channel and start commenting under, I don't know, other people and just say, great video, and then be like a bot. Or on Instagram, don't do this. Don't do follow for followers, right? This doesn't work. It's only going to attract trash. What you want to do is you want to go into this river and you want to look who are the best fishermen or fisherwomen there already. And you could try to get 10, 15, 20 great fishermen, fisherwomen on there. And you try, on the one hand, to learn from them. On the other hand, you try to interact, to show the fish that are already there, hey, I also have a pond. And my pond would be also great to come in. There's no risk for you. I feed you as well. You get this free content. Why don't you come and let me give you something? When you do this, and now we're getting a bit to the how, let's go step 4 here. When you do this, again, you try to learn from other creators on these platforms. The worst thing you can ever do is try to copy them. Because if you copy them, there's very little reason for anyone to actually come into your pond. Because why should they? They're already in a great pond. They're being fed. They get everything they want. Why should they ever come to you? So you need to learn, but you need to distinguish yourself. Very key. It has to be clear to your audience, to your avatar, on what's different in your pond versus all the other ponds that are out there, especially the larger ones, right? That is really, really important. So first thing, you need to distinguish yourself. Make this clear. The second thing, if you don't interact with other accounts, if you don't interact with your community, there's no reason for people actually to come. I still remember very, very early, I had probably 100, 200 crypto subscribers. And I was making videos. And again, you want to make videos a lot. I'll give you an idea here in a second. But I was pumping out a lot of videos, probably 3-4 videos a week. And I had around 100 to 200 to 300 subscribers and very few views. And I was just too tired to go there and then comment and interact because like, who cares? I mean, it's 300 people. And I still remember a very good friend of mine had this really honest feedback. And he says, yeah, you know what? You're never going to get to 1,000 if you don't appreciate the first 100. And that was such a mind changer. And from that point on, I actually I comment on almost under every YouTube comment, for example. I thank them. I ask a question. I comment. I like. I do this from the very beginning. And I do this on other accounts as well. You have to, right? Now, this brings me to something here. And you can say this, stay true for a theme for several weeks. Here's another thing. Think about sitcoms you have watched. Great TV shows you have watched, podcasts that you have watched, YouTubers that you have found. By what episode, how many videos did this creator already push out before you stumbled across that person or that show. You know how many sitcoms you start watching when they're already in season 3 and there have already been 24 episodes out? You know how many great, crazy shows, I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, or I don't know. By what season did you actually notice this? Why am I sharing this? Because you expect that after video 3 about live streams 3, when there's only 6 people watching you when you do this, that you have all the people there already. I tell you, this is probably not going to happen. Just like you don't meet all those people or notice all those channels when they just pumped out their second video. The same thing. You're going to be in a live stream. And here, I'm not the right person to teach you on what tools to use. I'm the wrong person because I'm not using the best tools. I have a super cheap Logitech camera here. I have a light here. I have a clip-on microphone. All this stuff here costs less than 100 euros in total. I'm the wrong person to teach you. Like, I don't know how many people tell me, hey, you need to use this hardware, this external device. You can click there. You need to have a green screen in the back. I don't have any of those. But I tell you what I have. I have a lot of grit. And I totally understand that even if I do a YouTube Live and there's 6 people online, I give it all. I go full out. Why? Because I know that most of the things that I notice, we're probably in episode 50, episode 100. And that's when I notice it. And so that is something that I can really give to you. Now, when you then start the phishing strategy, of course, you can, if you want to, you can stream on various platforms. There's a tool called Restream.io. It's a tool that I use. You connect it with OBS. It's a free software that you can download. And then, for example, you can stream on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. You can stream on all these things at the same time. And you should, and I think that's fine. But basically it means you have 6 streams and you're trying to fish on all 6 at the same time. Not gonna work. Pick one that you really focus on. And again, for me, this is YouTube. You wanna fix on one. You wanna prefer one. And this is the main focus. If you don't do this, you're probably gonna struggle a bit. As soon as you start building a bit of an audience, and now we're getting to the next steps here a bit. There's a couple of ideas. Obviously, you want to, for example, do collaborations with other influencers in your space. Again, for me, I try to do collaborations where there's add-ons, interviews. Fantastic. Key thing here. Don't always try to get on other shows. Try to invite them to your show. It helps a lot. And live streaming is fantastic for that, right? Very important. Another thing, try to get email addresses. Why? These are assets. It allows you to really, really connect, and it allows, for example, to notify people there. Very important. I use this all the time. And this actually brings me now to a very, very important part here, which is the metric. A lot of stuff actually falls all into this now. When we talk about live streaming, people, the first thing that they look at is how many subscribers do you have? Great, I get it, important. When people create a video, they look at how many positive comments, how many negative comments, how many comments in total, how many upvotes, how many downvotes, how many views does a video have, how many followers do I get from a video, how's the interaction when I live stream. You know what? All these things, at least to me, are completely irrelevant. Now, they might be relevant to you, but you need to ask yourself this. The right metric for me is business. Is how my sales doing. That means the following. I have no problem, and people, I think most people just don't understand this. I have no problem putting out a video that actually gets a really bad rating. It might not have the same kind of views that another video. It might have a lot of downvotes. It might have a lot of negative comments. These are never the things that I look at. And you have to learn this. This is really difficult, especially in live streaming, for example, because you get this immediate feedback from people, right? So let's say you talk about something that's totally unpopular, or let's say you have a sponsor and you add a sponsor, and then you start talking about the sponsor of the video. And the first thing you see on the chat is, oh, why do you do this? Why do you have to promote something? Why can't you do this for free? And then you get a bit disturbed, but you shouldn't. The most important thing you have to look at is what happens to your business with those videos. This is the only question you have to ask yourself, unless the only thing that you try to do is to become an influencer. not what I'm trying to do. And here, that's my entire tagline here: to build a community, extend your reach, and ultimately make business. So this is the main thing for me. I focus on that metric. This is tricky. It's difficult. Believe me, this is definitely not easy. But it's so important, because otherwise you're gonna get distracted. You're gonna make a video and the other video had 100,000 views, and then you make a video and it only has 20,000 views, and you're like, oh man, I did something wrong. But maybe that 100,000 people video doesn't really do anything. It doesn't move the needle. But maybe that 20,000 video has fewer viewers. It has maybe different types of viewers, but maybe these are the viewers who are your true audience. So this is something I really want to leave you with before we go into the questions, because I think this is one of the most important things, especially in live streaming, because you have this direct connection with people, and this is something that's really important. So these are my 5 steps. If I have a free quiz, by the way, if you want. It's German though. So if you're German or if you speak German, we have this free quiz where you can go through what type of entrepreneur are you, how could this work, how would live streaming work for you. You can go to bit.ly/business-quiz. You can try this out. We have different types. Always interested to hear on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, what kind of type you are. And yeah, this might help you a bit on, well, what type of live streamer could you be? How could you integrate live streaming in your business? I think quite a couple of important things here. So with this, I hope you got some value out of this. Looking forward to your questions. Yeah, thank you in the meantime.
Many thanks for these great insights, Julian. And as you mentioned, now we have some time for questions that we received from our audience. Let me go through them. So we had a couple of questions about audience building, community building, and Eva would like to know, how do I actually get in touch with the right people? So you described that inviting them to your own show is actually better than being invited. How do you first find them, and how do you get in touch with them?
So you talking about interviews, or you interviewers, or are you talking more about the audience actually watching the video, or both?
Maybe both in general, yes.
Okay, so let's say you want to talk to other partners, experts in your field. I would always try, again, I believe it's very difficult to network 6 levels up. So that means, if let's say you want to do business, and it's I don't know who is in Germany a very famous business owner or a very famous business expert. Let's say Frank Thelen, quite famous as a Löwe, Höhle der Löwen, so juror, so quite famous. If you're just starting out, it's going to be very, very difficult to network 6 levels up. Just very difficult. So it's probably unlikely someone like him is going to come on your show. But maybe there is a business owner, or maybe there's someone that you see with a YouTube channel that has, I don't know, 5,000 subscribers. And you go there and you say, hey, and on every YouTube channel, if you go to the About section, you can actually find a contact address. It's actually by law in Germany, Austria for sure. Switzerland, I would assume it's the same, probably in all of EU. You need to have an imprint. And so you can go there and you have an email address. And you can contact them and you can say, hey, look, this is my YouTube channel. If you're interested, I would love to talk about this topic. I see that your YouTube channel is about this. I think it would be a great collaboration, because I don't talk about the same thing that you do. I talk about something similar. Would you be open in doing a collaboration together? And again, you probably have to write to 5 or 6 or 7 channels, and then one person says, sure, I would love to. This, I think, is always a way. YouTube now has a really interesting new statistic. When you go on your homepage, you can see this. It shows the subscribers that subscribe to your channel and how many followers they have if they want to show it to you. The interesting thing there is you can sort it, you can rank this by how many subscribers they have. So you can see, for example, whoa, I have a follower that has, I don't know, 5,000 subscribers. Again, click on their page. Obviously, they are interested in your channel already. You click on theirs, go to their contact, and you drop them a message. I guess here, I always believe sales is one of the most important skills as a business owner. And even though this is not directly sales, reaching out to people, writing an email, you have to get a bit out yourself. You have to be a little bit extroverted. I think that's it's key. Unless you are in a privileged situation that you have a team member that has to do this for you. Yeah.
Good to know that YouTube feature that you just mentioned. Another audience-related question is, so I think from your perspective, you can make comparisons about different countries. So Serge would like to know, how are international audiences different from country to country?
I mean, obviously, humongous difference. It starts with age, and it starts also a lot with what device people are watching on. Especially when you are in more Western countries, especially Europe, also North America, a lot of people actually still watch on a desktop. So they watch on their computer. It's a completely different experience. But then as soon as you go a bit more into Asian countries, obviously also Africa, South America, you have way more smartphone. So way more mobile devices. And this changes everything. It changes the possibilities. It changes also with the jumping back and forth. It also changes with the attention. So you see this, a lot of Asians, a lot of Africans, South Americans, when they watch something, they actually watch it. If they do a live stream, they actually watch it, because as soon as they go away from their phone to another screen, the stream stops. So there's no multitasking. But in a lot of Europe, a lot of US, you have a tab open, and then you follow someone, it's like in the background, and you just listen for an hour to the live stream, but actually you're not really listening, because at the same time you're, I don't know, checking Facebook, and I don't know, you're answering emails, or you browse, you go on Amazon. So there's a lot of multitasking there. And this is a big difference also, especially in how do you grab someone's attention and then actually keep them on there. This is, I think, really important. Another thing that obviously is the size of the market, the size of the language. It's way easier to build a larger audience in English, sure, because there's just way more English speakers than German speakers. But then also, key trick here, one thing you can do is you can follow, for example, someone in English, and you can learn from them, you can learn from their content, and you can repackage that, bring in your own style, and you can do this then in German. Trust me, a lot of the most successful German YouTubers, that's exactly what they do. And there's nothing wrong with it. You're actually adding a lot of value, because there's a lot of people who don't speak English that well, and suddenly you are delivering that value in German. Great.
Good to know. One more audience-related question. You just mentioned about it's important to grab someone's attention. In your activities, is it all, Serge would like to know, that's Adi who would like to know whether you're also running ads, or everything that you're building and everything that all the reach that you have, is it just built organically?
So, I mean, I don't run our Facebook campaigns. Actually, I have a performance marketer who does this, performance marketer. To my knowledge, if we run reach campaigns, it's negligibly small. So I don't want to say that we've never done it or we're not doing it, but if we spend budget on this, it's negligible. It's really small. The only thing that I ever run budget on is actually for my business. And by doing so, I automatically build reach and brand, but reach and brand is never the target. The target is really the business per se. So I give you an example. So let's say I have a video that explains how to buy Bitcoin in 5 steps. So, okay, I try to push this video to more people, but not with the idea that I get more followers, or that I don't know, let's say more followers. I think it's the easiest one. But in return, the video is structured in a sense that, well, it's 5 steps, and maybe there's an affiliate link in there. Maybe it is I try to get an email address, or maybe it's I try to get them to sign up for my company. To me, again, the trick in live streaming and YouTube is always 80% content, 90% content, 10% getting people into your business. This the most important thing. I really believe that. Otherwise, you can be an influencer, totally different story. It's not me. For me, it's 90% content, and that's premium, high-level content. No one will top that content. But it's very rare that I don't try with a video to get people either into an email funnel, into my business, and so on. Now, again, I will have people who will complain about this. I couldn't care less. This is not a metric. I don't even look at that. I don't care. To me, the only thing that matters at the end, can I pay for the salaries of my employees? Can I deliver value to my customers? That's the main thing that I care about as a business owner. Social media is a tool for me. It's nothing else. Now, if you just go and you sell 100% on the video, no one's going to watch your video. No one's going to care about your live stream. If you have a really healthy mix, I think all the fantastic, great YouTubers out there, that's how they actually really make quite a good living and build a great audience.
Then there was a question about channels. You just mentioned Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok was on your slide. Are you active on TikTok? That's a question from a user called SetH.
So I have a TikTok account. Actually, a team member of mine set this up. I seriously have never even been on that platform. I don't understand that platform. That platform for me is completely out of my world. My audience is also not really the age group to be on TikTok. My customer base, let's say it this way. So yeah, I would be the wrong person to advise you on TikTok at all. I think I'm really good on YouTube, and I'm really good on Twitter. I'm already not good anymore on Instagram. I'm already not good on Facebook, but Twitter and YouTube, these are my two prime platforms, which is normal in the financial space, in the tech space. These are the two channels that are very important and very strong. So that's where I go fishing.
Because a user called Serafin, she actually suggests to do a crypto dance on TikTok once you get more familiar with the channel.
Okay.
And then we also received a couple of crypto-related questions. One is, in general, how do you see, Bernhard would like to know, how do you see the future of crypto marketing?
I think it's going to stay very similar in a sense that people will always ask for value. They wanna ask for ideas. They wanna ask for strategies. I don't see this changing. This has been there for the last I think since any kind of digital education has been existing. So I think that's not going to change. I think interesting, a couple of ideas, right? If we bring blockchain into this, I think a couple of interesting ideas there have always been maybe blockchain could make the crypto education a bit more transparent, a bit more accountable, because you have so many YouTubers and crypto influencers who really, they talk so much BS. They just, we call this shill. So they tell you anything. There's no accountability. You have this, but this has nothing to do with crypto per se. You have this in any space, right? It doesn't matter if you talk about online gaming. It doesn't matter if you talk about cosmetics. I mean, you have this everywhere. And there's no accountability, or very little. And so obviously there has been a call in blockchain to make this way more accountable. Obviously, when we talk about blockchain, we talk about censorship resistance. Social media has a lot of this. We see this a lot right now with COVID, for example. On YouTube, it's almost impossible to make videos that are a bit critical of the COVID policies at the moment. It completely gets down-regulated, so a massive problem if you want to create content around this. But obviously, it applies to any content. It's just a very current one. And then people call for a way more open social media, and blockchain could do this. So this would be a couple of the ideas there.
Yes, maybe also with regards to live streaming. That's a question from Alain. Have you ever seen live streaming platforms on the blockchain? Are there any developments in this direction?
Not that I am aware of. So I think DTube, they do. I don't think they do live streaming though. They might. One of the reasons that the decentralized platforms really struggle for the live streaming side, or in general, is just that because anything is possible, so many crazy things happen. And the sad thing is that many times these platforms attract a lot of the extreme rights and the extreme lefts, all things that usually get blocked on YouTube or social media. And a lot of the illegal content then pops up there, and that just completely always destroys those platforms. So that's always a bit of the sad side.
Yeah. One more characteristic of the blockchain is that it's a fast-paced environment, and Fred would like to know how that influences the type of content that you create, content production, content planning. Is there a lot of speed needed in your processes?
So I don't do much. So you can focus on strategy and you can focus on tactics. Tactics are those very situational, very fast-changing, fast-paced ideas. I think tactics are always the stuff you want to start out with. Why? Because it's always easier. It sounds crazy, but tactics are way, way easier. For those of you that, for example, I always like to use analogies of chess and and poker, because these are games that are very good to relate to. So if you sit in chess, for example, you have those chess puzzles, and those chess puzzles are always tactical. So that means you sit there, and the question is, how can you checkmate the king in one move? And because it's just one move, even if you're very novice, it's quite easy actually to find that move that checkmates the king, because it's just one move. But as soon as it gets to 2 moves, it gets infinitely harder. As soon as it gets to 3 moves, it gets so much more harder. And you can actually look, with 5 moves to checkmate a king, you will see how the percentage of people being able to solve this completely drops. And then as soon as it goes more strategy, so strategy means, well, how does a move impact my entire situation 30 moves down? This is where it gets really, really hard. So my suggestion, especially when you are a bit more a beginner on there, focus more on the tactics. In crypto, for example, this means how do you set up a hard wallet? For those of you that don't know what a hard wallet is, not that important. But for those of you that know what a hard wallet is, how to set up a hard wallet, how to use an exchange where I could swap Swiss francs or euros into Bitcoin, for example, right? So very tactical, very situational. But and it's very easy. The problem is these situations change all the time, right? How often do you have the same situation of a chessboard, unless it's the starting position? But as soon as you have like 40 plays down, it's almost impossible that you ever have the same situation on a chessboard. So it's a similar when you do these tactical videos. So at some point, you're going to get better and better and better, and you go way more into strategic side. Strategy is way harder because it's so much more complex. But at the end, these ideas are a bit more timeless. So today, for example, the last video I made, for example, on Monday, also live stream, was how does COVID impact Bitcoin? And so it's very strategic. It's very high level. You need to kind of plan 18 months, 24 months down the line. And obviously, it is very different to talking about what's going to happen from today to tomorrow. So, but again, this video is probably going to be relevant for the next 18 to 24 months, or let's say 12 months, because I don't think COVID is going to go away in the next 2 months. I think it's going to be here for quite some time. So this video is going to come back to people because they're like, man, how is COVID impacting Bitcoin? Mm-hmm. So, and it's way more strategic, right? And so then I don't have to change as many things.
Yeah. With regards to tactics, what are your tactics when it comes to dealing with trolls and haters and negative comments? Because you mentioned the importance of building a qualitatively high and valuable community, but sometimes there are users in your community that aren't what you're looking for. What's your tactics in this regard? So
we have a 0 tolerance on trolling on YouTube, for example, but on all social media. I ban with no warning. I ban straight away because to me, you ban those people that troll. It's their habit, it's their behavior, right? So I try to get rid of those people on all the platforms. It's a process that never stops, obviously. But the reason I want to do it is because it's not someone that doesn't troll, someone that just has fair I don't block criticism, but if someone has a fair criticism, I don't care. I don't even read that. That's fine. And the reason I don't care is because I know that other people will notice that and they will look at it and they're like, yeah, could be valuable feedback. I see this differently. But to me, there's nothing worse than going on a channel and then you see all this spam and all this trolling and hate, for example. To me, that just completely devalues everything. And I treat it always a bit on, would I want to have a party, or would I want to have, again, my pond, a party where these types of people would be around? The problem then is one bad apple makes all the apples bad. So a lot of other people then they just don't come back because they're like, why should I care about this? And so we have a very, very strict policy on this. I generally, I am someone who actually reads a lot of comments and then comments back and answers. I think I have quite a thick skin. You need to develop that a bit. So when I see criticism, even if it's fair, many times I am like, either just don't care. If I get the same feedback over and over again, I'll maybe talk to the team a bit and say, hey, how do you see this? Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that makes sense for the business? So that's a bit of how I do this. If there's criticism from the outside, maybe, I don't know, other YouTubers, other influencers talk bad about me, I really don't care. I am not someone who minds that. I don't know. I think you have to learn this a bit. Yeah, I have a background here. I don't know. Let me just briefly. You can just see this for a second. So here, lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. So it's the background. It changes on a regular basis here, actually. So it changes every hour. And I have another one that says, if you want to be liked by everyone, sell ice cream. There's another one that says, if you the only way how you're not going to be hated by anyone is to do nothing, be nothing, and say nothing. So there's a lot of these ideas. I mean, I have about 30 backgrounds, and they rotate. Some are go a bit into ignoring haters. Others go into very motivational things. I have a lot of quotes, for example, from Michael Jordan. And so I really, I don't know. I brainwash myself, I think, every day, and in completely ignoring a lot of people that are completely unsuccessful and are super frustrated with their own life, and they just try to leave it out to you.